me from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET. Created by whom? Created by we the people. I repeat, created by we the people, now often controlled by the plutocracy. Folks, we have got to take our country back. We have a lot to speak about today. Mucho, mucho, mucho. But you know what? Without further ado, I'll throw it to the studio with the one and only El Senor Jacques Van Beba.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, my friend. Talk to me.
Oh, Howard's out today, Wednesday, the 14th of January. He's on a little vacation. Dr. Frank Cannon String has left me in charge.
Well, you have your hands full, my brother, but you know what? We couldn't have left it in any better hands, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, today's program opens by confronting a political movement defined by elite failure and public consequences. A Republican senator's blunt rejection of reckless Greenland talk exposes cracks inside the GOP's foreign policy posture, while Senate inaction on restoring ACA subsidies deepens a manufactured health care crisis. At the same time, Nina Turner delivers a sharp indictment of Democratic leadership, arguing that caution and donor driven timidity helped pave the way for Trump's return. Together, these stories reveal how incompetence, neglect, and fear of confrontation harm working people at home and destabilize alliances abroad. Right on, Mr. Egberto.
Yeah, and we're going to even get into some more stuff. But thank you for that, Jack. Anything you want to add to that before I get started, Jack?
No, I was kind of busy this morning, so I couldn't think very clearly.
Well, I know. Normally you're with your piece of paper writing down and the concept of the morning, but I know that you have that whole thing in control of. So let's get busy. I'll get started. All right.
All right, good deal.
All right, folks. Look, the, uh, Jack pointed out what the topics are that I want to cover today, right? And that's great. But every morning I take a look at other things, take a look at some news. I also go ahead and check out, what's going on. And something kind of tickled my fancy. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go there first because I want to make sure and sort of cover it in some detail. Anyway, welcome aboard, Lisa Blair. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so kindly for being here. We get started with our list a little bit late on Substack, but welcome aboard, Marnie. Welcome aboard, Barbara Richardson, Carolyn Olson. Chris is also here. And LBW, La Profesora, is in the house. I love me teachers because I know that the teaching profession is what makes the world go round. If you think that I simply hyperventilate on that subject all of the times, the reason I do that is because we have to start giving the respect, the dignity, and understand that more so than a stockbroker or any other profession, those who decide to go into that field of teaching are the ones who move knowledge forward and make sure that we continue as a society. Uju, how you doing, Uju? Hey, Uju, you were a star on our 3 o'clock show yesterday. I cut up some of the stuff that you called in with a few days ago to let our audience hear it. It was that statement you made was so profound. I needed to get the our 3 o'clock audience to hear that as well. Gayla Fertain, Hartigan, welcome aboard. David Vanaker, Eric Lalove, welcome aboard. It looked like I've got an early call. This may be my good friend, Jeff, the guy that I call my corporate Republican friend. Jeff, come on in, my brother. Come on in. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, good morning, Edberto. Thank you. Thanks, Jack. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, Jeff. What's up?
Great, thanks. Hey, Edberto, I was listening to the show the other day. We were talking about different things, current topics, obviously, and numbers. I thought, I wonder if most people understand how much $1 billion actually is. You know,
No, they don't.
it's massive. I know, right? So, could I share an analogy of how
Please
much it
do.
is? So, so if you spend $1,000 a day, every day, how much do we spend in a year? Right, 365,000. Right,
Right.
pretty good. Pretty good, budget to live on. Right. Now, at
I
that
could.
same rate of spend, at that $1,000 a day, right? How long until you've spent $1 million? About 3 years, right?
Hmm.
So then, at that same rate of $1,000 a day, how long until you've spent $1 billion? The answer is 3,000 years, because a billion is 1,000 million. And I
Right.
think that's where a lot of people struggle to comprehend how much money that is when people talk about spending it or acquiring it, right? Because 3 years to a million, 30 years to 10 million. This is for everybody now that's doing their back of napkin math, right? 300 years till you get to 100 million, and 3,000 years to 1,000 millions, or $1 billion. So it's just food for thought, because I know we throw $1 billion around like it's nothing these days, but it is a lot of money, right?
And the thing about it, from what you're just saying there, Jeff, is, I mean, when you put it in lifetimes, assuming somebody, let's say somebody's lifetime is 80 years, we're talking about way over 40 lifetimes, or
Yeah,
around 40, just under 40 lifetimes.
it's amazing, right? And
Yes,
so
yes.
I thought it would be good for us to just remember how much that is, because we kind of just throw it around so casually these days, right? And I know you appreciate it, and many of your callers do, but it's until you actually do the math, you don't kind of really understand what we're talking about.
But then you know what? That
Okay.
that brings up another factor, Jeff, and that is, if you think about it, uh, who can earn? And I didn't say make, I said earn. Who can actually earn? I mean, we're having Steve Bezos with
Right.
over 100 billion, Bill Gates over 100 billion. We have uh, the space guy with over Musk with over $300 billion. Who could actually earn that? I'm not talking about make that, because mechanisms of making money can be good, bad, all, but who can earn that? I don't think there's a human being. Well, not I don't think there isn't a human being who can earn that.
Back then. Yeah.
You know, A- and that I think is one of the factors that we have to look in when we're talking about the fairness of an economic system. But anything else you want to add, my brother?
Well, yeah, if we have time, I'm going to completely flip the subject now that our logical part of our brains are awake. Would it be too petty to stop calling the thugs ICE and use a word like, I don't know, lice instead? Now, to me, lice, right? Tiny wingless parasites, insects that live on humans and feed on blood. I can
Wow.
see the T-shirts, right?
Yeah,
No more lice, no more lies.
no. First of all, it's not petty. It's not petty at all. I think we need to get the T-shirts printed up with that, because you know what's great with the T-shirt? You can have a little additional explanation. When I have a compromise. I compromise with my corporate guy here. I compromise. What you say, if when we need to make it explicit and quick, we use thug. When people
Yeah,
can have a little bit of thinking time, meaning on a T-shirt or something, we use lice with your explanation. What do you think about that?
there we go. Yeah. We can hand out little L's to all the protesters, and they could just walk them up and put them on their tactical vests, everything when they're approaching me.
I like Jeff.
No, I
I
just
like that.
yeah.
Then I like that.
I want to preface it. I'm not talking about the good officers, the good men and women of law enforcement, right? We need good officers in ICE, in DHS. Our country, God bless them, we need soldiers, we need policemen, we need teachers, first responders, doctors, nurses.
Right.
This life term, it's for the parasites, the ones that are not in the right job. I don't know anything about this guy who made a horrible mistake and killed that lovely woman, right? But it sounds like he's got skills that are probably more appropriate on a battlefield in a foreign country, going after people who took down our buildings, right? There are places where maybe we want a guy like that on the front line for us, but it's not in our streets, in our homes, in our places of business. So, I know it's
Jeff?
emotional in a long game here, but I just feel like it's time to start putting a word to some of these.
No, you're absolutely right. But let me just say one other thing, Jeff. You said you don't know a lot about this guy. Likewise, I don't know a lot about this guy. All we know about people is the impression that they give us. And the two impressions that I was left with his cell phone video, which I think was the most damning video, is the young lady said, "Sir, I'm not mad at you," with a nice, calm, sweet voice. And after he shot and killed her, he said, "You effing B." I think that
Yep.
that says it all. But Jeff, I got to go to another call, and I have a whole lot to talk
Hey,
about
thanks for the
today.
time.
I want to thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother. Okay,
Yeah, appreciate you.
take care, my
Thanks,
friend.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, Johnny, come on in, Johnny, and then I really want to get to this subject, but come on in, my dear brother. How you doing?
You will, because I have one simple rhetorical question. How many teacher salaries are we opportunity costing away from society with every salary we're paying to these Klansmen to go around and bully people?
Wow, Johnny, that in Spanish we have a phrase. It's kind of cute phrase. It says, "Esa pregunta ni se pregunta," and it kind of translates not directly, but it is like that is a question you shouldn't even have to ask. We know the answer.
Yeah,
We have forfeited
that's right.
thousands of teachers because of ICE. And in fact, there's a piece that I did yesterday from a good listener who gave something that Alexandria Ocasio Cortez had to say. And I didn't prep it to show today, but I may prep it for tomorrow. I wish I had prepped it now that you said that. But anyway, thank you very much, Johnny. Anything else real quick?
Very quickly. How much money are we paying the President of the United States every year?
I
You know
think
the
it's
answer to that is?
400,000, right?
It's $399,999 too much. And I'm being generous. $1 a year is too much for that guy.
I agree. I
Goodbye.
agree. Thank you, brother. Peace. Welcome aboard, Cheryl Elkins, Bobby K. We also have my brother Glenn Ryan in the house. Uju says 3,000 years. Imagine this is they want to live forever. They will never live forever, and they hoard this wealth. And society awards this greed and gluttony of wealth. But we shame folks who are hoarders. It is a sick disease. We either tax them or we eat them. Taxing is easier and tastier. My brother John Cotter is in the house he's a president of Humble Area Democrats who, along with the Luke yesterday, had a great debate. I wasn't able to attend, had a lot of other things to do, but you guys are doing great work, Cotter. You guys are doing great work. Let's see what else we've got here. MXXS, welcome aboard. Donna Cooper, welcome aboard. If I forgot your name or didn't call you, just give me your state and city. I'll call you up. Harry Denson from Missouri, Missouri City, Texas. All right, here it is. This morning I woke up. Jack already told you what the program is going to be about. But I started to look at what the president said in his speech in Michigan yesterday. And after getting that bout of nausea from listening to the constancy of lies, I wanted to make a few things clear to all of us that are listening today. First, he makes comments about uh, Biden having had the highest interest rates, highest inflation, all that kind of stuff, which is patently false, not even close to the top. Under Reagan, under Carter, under during the Second World War, interest rates were through the roof. Second World War, 19%. Under Reagan, 13%. Under Carter, 13%. That's the kind of inflation we were looking at then. He talks about having brought down inflation from the catastrophe created by Biden. When Biden left office, inflation was 2.9% and fallen. Now that Donald Trump is in office, inflation is at 2.7% and rising. The price of food has skyrocketed. The only reason inflation came in at 2.7% yesterday was because oil prices have precipitously dropped. And like I've spoken to many of you over the last several decades, there has never really been an oil crisis, an oil shock. We have simply created false scarcities so that the oil companies can charge more per barrel and make more money on your back. If you recall, when the pandemic started, there was such a glut of oil that there was no storage space in a lot of places, and the oil companies were paying people for storing the oil. In other words, the oil prices went below zero. They were paying you to take the oil. Okay, that's a fact. Look it up if you don't believe it. The barrel of oil went from 100 something or however many dollars to under zero, meaning you were paid to take the oil. As soon as the pandemic was over and they were able to mitigate the glut, I was in Washington, D.C., then taking care of my daughter after her stroke. And we would go to Sam's, not Sam's, Costco. We would go to Costco. And I would take a picture I would take a picture every time of the prices of gas and watch them rise for no reason whatsoever. For no reason whatsoever. You know why they did it? Because they could. And because they knew that under Biden, in order to inflate the economy so that it wouldn't fall into depression. Remember, it's easier to go from a high prices to stable prices than it is to go from a depression all the way up into out of a depression. Economics 101, and there are reasons why. Okay? But when it comes to what was done, what Trump is saying about the economy, it is all false. And Lee Beercat from Austin, Texas, the 4.3 GDP, it is important that you understand how GDP is calculated and what goes into making the GDP. And it's not always about what actually helps the consumer. So I suggest you go ahead and look at the components of GDP. Now, so he went ahead and he talked about tariffs not being paid by Americans. Again, Americans, you are the ones who are paying the tariffs. The higher prices in groceries, your tariff. The higher prices in housing, your tariff. The higher prices in credit cards, your president. Now, here's the deal. And this is important for you to understand. The president can say as he pleases. But when you look at building homes and why the price of homes are going up, it's not enough to just say, tariffs, tariffs. If you want people to understand what's really occurring, tell them what's really occurring. Homes in America are built with soft woods. Okay? Homes in America are built with soft woods. Most of that soft wood, 80% of it, comes from Canada. Under Donald Trump, there has been a constancy of tariffs on these products. So the cost of homes under his first regime, just from the wood, I'm not talking about increase in pricing and other products, etc., added over $9,000 to the home. He added additional tariffs By the end of 27, it will be over 14,000, and that's just the wood that goes into the framing of the house. And all of that money on a per house basis is going direct is paid for, first of all, by all of us. All of you who are renting, all of you who are buying homes, that the price of that wood, the tariff of that wood, is being paid by you and going directly into the United States Treasury. And what's the purpose of that again? The purpose of that is to reduce the taxes on the wealthy who are making that much more money. Okay? If you take, again, I want to pause a second because I must address certain fallacies. Lita Bearcat, who is in Austin, talks about the price of homes in Austin went down, which is true. That speaks for a bad economy. In other words, in that case, what's happening is, remember I said that the price of wood is what the amount of pricing that is increased because of the price of wood, but there's another increase that causes higher prices in homes, and that is demand. And if you have a shortages of homes in a particular area, the price of those homes fluctuate based on the demand of those homes. There are two different mechanisms, and because we are not educated by our media and otherwise, we can have Lita Bearcat making a statement like he make that has no bearing on what we're discussing right now. Okay, so it is important to note that just housing alone, Donald Trump was really talking about affordability and saying it's a hoax, etc. That issue that I spoke about is simply housing, but it's also grand theft. Let me explain. Our farmers in the field right now, brothers and sisters that are farming, they've had to leave soybeans in the field because since China has stopped buying our soybeans and buying it from Argentina, it means that our all those places that store the silos that store the soybeans are filled. So when that farmer goes ahead and pick the machine pick those soybeans, there is absolutely nowhere to put it. He has temporary storage that he can hold some, but most of it just goes to waste. So his all his work over the summer goes right back into the ground to refertilize the ground because of Donald Trump's tariffs and China no longer buying. But that means there's a glut of soybeans, right? That means we have a whole lot of soybeans here in America. I want you to go to the grocery stores, my friends. Grocery prices are high, but you also have to ask yourself, wait a minute, why are all these grocery prices going up so high? I want you to look at all the ingredients behind much of what you buy. Go to the store, pick it up, and see how often you see the word soybean as a large percent. By the way they order ingredients is by the amount of that ingredient in the product, right? Take a look at how much soybean is in to your product, from tofu to cereals to all these other products have a lot of soybean in them, soybean oil, all of that. And then look at the price of those products and see if there is any marginal change in the pricing now that we have a glut of soybeans. No. So these guys are buying the same amount of soybeans from the farmers on the cheap, given the glut, but those costs are not, those savings are not passed on to you as a buyer, as a customer. It is going into the pockets of those who are the least deserving, the ones who don't work, the wealthy. And still, we have here in Texas, we still have people voting to make sure we can't tax the wealth of those people who are getting all this free money on your back. There's something called fairness. There's something called fairness. What I'm trying to tell you people is this. We've always been played, but the playing now is at the extremes. And it is to the point where we can know where it's killing us. Now, if you take a look at what happened, why are we cutting the subsidies? Twofold. As Alexandria said, subsidies and it's not only subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, okay? It is also the rise in price of your health insurance and health products, etc. Why is that happening? Well, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez made it clear, right? She pointed out that every time you see 10 of those ICE agents, according to Brother Jeff, those lice, at any time you see them out there, those 10 guys pulling an innocent woman out of the car, saying, I am off to my medical appointment, I'm disabled, and they don't care. They break her windows, they cut her seat belts, and they're dragging her out. Their inhumanity, they're evil, they're dragging her out. They are paid. They are paid out of that subsidy you are not getting, that higher price that you are paying for your health insurance. That is so when you turn on your TV and you see those lice, and my short version, those thugs, when you see them there, remember that's the subsidy that you're not getting. But let's put another top one on that, folks. Do you know, like we said would happen, 1.4 million people who had previously had insurance on the exchange, their lack of subsidies so far, and by the way, it's not over yet, it's a lot more that is going to happen as soon as they get their first bill. But 1.4 million of them have already said, I can't afford it, I will be without insurance. This is United States of America. Donald Trump has big, grandeur feelings of taking over, Greenland, and in the process, he thinks maybe he can give them $50,000 a piece or $100,000 a piece in Greenland to convince them, so that he won't have to conquer it with his military. He wants to give $50,000, $100,000 to each resident, of which I'll say they would kind of be stupid to take that. Under Denmark's rule, they get universal health care, they get child care, they get family leave, they get paid vacations. $100,000 per person can't buy you that to become an American, because we got none of that. No guarantees of any of that. Why the hell would somebody say, let me become an American in order to whatever, when in Denmark, the first or second highest happy country in the world, I am just that. Happy. Una vez más lo repito. Another time I'll repeat it. I'm happy. I've got more to say, but let's listen to Betty. Our beautiful Betty's on the line. Come on in, Betty. How you doing this morning?
I'm okay. You're okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Grumpy Trump, his character, old age makeup, every day for 3 more years. If we don't see eye to eye on every single decision, the consequences could be devastating and costly. Devil in disguise, a stalker. And Jeff said about lice, ear lice on animals kill. If not treated, a slow death, a horrible way to go. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Love you, Betty. You have a wonderful rest of your day. So, folks, you know, right now, today's show, I am complaining a lot about all these things that are wrong. And, a lot of times when people hear this, uh, when people hear this, a lot of people just say, God, throw your hands up in the air. We can't do anything about it. I try to say the things that are wrong and explain how they're wrong. I try to expose the lies and explain how the lie is actually functioning. That's why I didn't just say you're paying for the tariffs on Canada's wood. I wanted to make it known that how it actually affects things materially. I wanted to I wanted to give you numbers as far as how the soybean farmer, with having that glut, should have actually made your grocery prices cheaper. So what engineers do is we try to take the fact, the numbers, what the scientists come out with, and put it into the effective things that people experience, that people use. So what I'm saying is everything that Trump has done wrong has materially impacted your life negatively if you're not in the top 1% or in the upper echelon of our country. Everything that he has done has not made any of your life better, right? It has done diametrically opposite to that. And what I did is show with the food, with the home prices, with your health care, those are things that all of you, whether you're red, blue, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, it affects you. It affects you. When I talk about the fear that many people have of things like the word democratic socialism, because you have been taught to hate things like that or not understand what it really is or not really know the reality and try to equate it to Cuba or Russia or North Korea as opposed to simply learning the truth of what these systems mean. It actually harms us all. In New York, Hochul, the governor, finally realizes that in Mamdani, there is a young politician who has the gift of understanding how to explain things for people to understand. And in the process, he awoke, he made woke hundreds of thousands of voters that pretty much threw their hands up in the air because they are saying the way our economic system works, that's just how it works. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. And he brought to them and he taught them that if we have an army of people who are not only have the truth, who not only understands things, if we don't assume the people listening on the other end are idiots or stupid or dumb, if we give them the respect that they deserve, that they've earned, to be able to say, I know you don't know these things, but I am willing to spend the time to explain it so that we can do something about it, they will come to the Pied Piper. And Mamadani made himself a very, very good Pied Piper. And he made himself such a good Pied Piper that Hochul, the governor of New York, who once said what the thing inferred that what he's talking about was pie in the sky, has already brought to fulfillment or near fulfillment one of his promises, and that is to help New Yorkers with giving kids child care. $2 billion, I think, 1 point something $billion, I believe. And we have the money. America has the money to make life better for just about everybody. If we stop the hoarding by the undeserving few. And notice I said undeserving. When Jeff called and Jeff explained what $1 billion was, what I wanted to also ensure that people understand is nobody on this planet has ever earned $1 billion. We have an extractive economic system that allows others to make that billion on your back, on your work, on your worth, on your intellect. And it's only when you understand that It's only when you have enough faith in yourself, enough respect for yourself, enough realization that it is you. When you look in that mirror, and I'm not saying this about being nice, I'm not saying this about, some sort of false upper for you. When you look in the mirror, you are a part of the teeth in the cogs that makes things go around. You are a part of what that if that teeth is missing in that gear, the gear that makes the economic machinery function. If one teeth is missing, the gear continues to work, however inefficiently. But if we remove too many of those teeth, it fails. You are the teeth. Right now, the way our economy is those buffoons who run it, the billionaires, etc. They constantly remove a teeth out of the gear, a cog out of the gear, and it constantly runs, and eventually it will cave. I'll continue. Come on in, Donald.
Good morning, Alberto. Let's
Good
go
morning,
with
my brother.
the GCM, the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration.
Yes,
Voted
sir.
no in 2018 by the people. In 2021, it was implemented in the United States. Therefore, we said no to it, and it was implemented anyway based on the UN and the people that have atrocities in their locations. Horrible. But they have the right to stand up there and judge the rest of the world and say that people can migrate regularly because it's so bad where we're at. When you go to fix where the problem is, there's all these other compound problems that comes with it because people ain't tortoises. They don't have a home on their back. So
True.
that is where we're at right now.
Right. Let me just say this. I don't know if you're saying. I don't know if I quite understood you. I think you were trying to imply that the amount of migration that we, or migration that we have to the U.S. create shortages, and maybe that's partially responsible for some of the pricing. Is that what you're saying? I didn't quite get it.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, if you bring 20, 30 million people into the area, there is never a shortage of anything. It's just who's going to get paid.
Right. Okay.
That's where
Because
you start drilling down and look at where all this money goes, and it's all peeling that onion I talk about. These people don't do anything for goodness. We have, in this world, we could be a beautiful world. We could be perfect. But see, people look, if I give you a glass and we both get a glass, I look in your glass to see if you have enough.
right.
Some people look in the glass to see if you have more than them. And
Right.
humans are sick animals that you think they're inherently good. But
Okay.
they're not.
I get Donald. I get
They're
where you're
just not
coming
been
from now.
Put in a situation for
Right.
their true nature to come out. That is the key.
I misunderstood your initial statement. For a minute, I thought is brother Donald turning on me again, but no, I see what you're saying now. All right, Donald, I got some more calls I got to take, but you're absolutely right, brother. I misinterpret what you said previously, but yeah. And let me just say this about
No,
the people.
you have a brain to analyze what I say, and it's how you perceive it.
Right.
And that's the problem. They divide everybody,
Right.
and we still keep doing it every day.
Well, you know
So
what?
that's
You know
it.
what? That's why we're
Oh,
here,
go ahead.
Donald. Donald, that's why we're here. And I got to go to Rob, but that's why we're here. All right.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
Have
Bye.
a good one, brother. Peace. Rob, come on in. How you doing, my brother?
Real good. How about you?
All right, talk to me.
Another way of understanding about those big numbers of dollars, millions and billions,
Hmm.
not too many people have ever even counted to 1 million. If you count one number a second, it would take you a million seconds. So most people don't realize that just to count a million would take you like 11 and a half days.
Wow.
That's if you count one number a second, every second, nonstop, around the clock, 24 hours a day, nonstop for almost 2 weeks, just to count 1 million.
Right.
A billion is 1,000 times that. So just to count 1 billion would not take you
11,000 days. Yeah.
11,000 days, which is like 31 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
Most people in the entire world have not even lived 1 billion seconds yet. That's if the average life was if the median life was 31 years, it would take you half of your lifetime just to count a billion, doing it one per second nonstop around the clock.
Wow.
And a trillion is 1,000 billions. So the defense budget, which is $1 trillion, just to count 1 trillion would take you 30,000, over 31,000 years, just to count 1,000. And the Defense Department wants an extra 50% more. They want 1.5 trillion.
Imagine that, right? I mean, you gotta wonder, how do you ask for an extra 500 billion for defense at the same time that you don't have universal health care? Talk about evil, brother.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Rob, and
But
thank you
all-
for that
but wait,
analogy.
But
Yeah.
the good news is, even if it would take you 30,000 years to count a trillion, they said no problem. We'll use $100 bills.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Let's go to Mike. Come on in, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You know, I used to always wonder why the far right wing is so intent on destroying public education. And just recently, I was reading an analysis by someone, and honestly, I forgot the source of the article or the name, and I was wondering if you had any feedback on it. But he said the reason is that when Richard Nixon, back in 1968, came into office, he and his group of advisors got together and they wanted to determine why did the country revolt. I mean, it may be hard to imagine now for some people, but this country was in a state of revolt. They were revolting against the Vietnam War. They were revolting against racial
Capitalism.
segregation and discrimination. They were revolting against social norms. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't agree with.
Right.
But regardless, the country was in a state of revolt. Demonstrations all over the place, universities and all that. The youth were. So they determined that there were two reasons for the revolt. Number one, the people were economically comfortable, relatively comfortable. So they weren't going around wondering where am I going to get my next meal. So they were thinking about other things, higher level things. And number two, they were educated. So they set about, and Nixon actually started to a decline in the education system of the United States. And Ronald Reagan really accelerated it.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're just trying to decimate it. So,
Well, let me
I
stop you
find
right
it
there,
really-
Mike. Let me tell you, because you asked me earlier, you started the thing saying there was a document, okay? And I don't know how often you listen to my show, but I reference that document all of the time. It was created in
Okay.
I think it was 1971 by Lewis Powell, called the Powell Memo or the Powell Memorandum. And in effect, the tenet of that paper was that Americans are getting too damn smart, they're getting progressive, and and under that tenet, what we have to do is, in the businesses, that is, have to, because again, the way capitalism work on extraction, on the least, right? And this is not conjecture. This is just how the mathematical formula of capitalism work. What they had to do is they had to infiltrate media, churches, schools. They had to come out. They had to work with the books. Just read the Powell Memo. I have it on my website, egbertowillies.com. If you just search Powell Memo, you'll get a whole lot of information about what this document had to do. Ironically, this document was written by a Democrat, Lewis Powell, who was later ascended to the Supreme Court by the one and only guy you just mentioned, Republican Richard Nixon. Neoliberalism and the maintenance of neoliberalism isn't a party thing. It's a establishment thing. Our two parties, or
Right.
two rails. Guess what? If you have two rails, brother, if you have a train track, if that track, if there's a left track and a right track, the only thing you know about it is those tracks are going in the same direction. And in our case, our rails and our tracks have been going in the same direction, veering right. And while the left, the establishment left may be a little bit better than the right, it is still going veering right. Anyway, continue so I can get to the other callers, my brother.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to look up that Powell memo and read it. I find it just astonishing and kind of despicable that anyone, leadership of the country would purposely go about, just destroying the educational system.
Yeah,
I remember not too long, the phrase was dumbing down, in the 80s
it is true.
and early
Yeah, it is
90s.
true.
And everyone was talking about dumbing down, and you would see it. Yeah, they were definitely dumbing down the country, and a lot of them are pretty dumb now. But I'm never going to get on the air and without the opportunity to say stop the genocide. The war in Gaza has not ended. The ceasefire was on one side only. The war ended for Israel. It hasn't ended for the Palestinians. They're continuing to kill, murder children, women, innocent people every single day. Little babies are dying of hypothermia, cold, because the Israelis are not allowing in humanitarian aid. They're not allowing in construction equipment. They're not allowing in temporary housing. They are just continuing to commit genocide with our support and our tax dollars. We should do everything we can to try to stop it. I'm not going to miss the opportunity to say that because, here we are living comfortably in the United States.
Did I attempt to stop you, Rob?
Who, me? Mike?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Mike.
No,
did I
sir,
attempt to stop you?
No,
Okay. And you know why?
not at
Because
all.
this is the station of
I
truth.
appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. You have a
Absolutely.
great rest of your day.
Thank you. You have a blessed day. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Peter. Come on in, Peter.
Thank you, Roberto. It's good to hear your show and be on your radio waves. And I'm Peter Filler. As you know me, I'm a candidate for Congress, but I was going to ask you a question. So we're seeing all these examples of really far-right authoritarianism, and I've just got two examples. I just wanted to see if you can concur. So the first example would be Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security. As we've seen, this DHS has changed the rules of engagement. So they're justifying the unconstitutional far-right authoritarian moves that we're seeing. For example, encircling cars, then rushing in. That's not acceptable. This is not, it's not Fallujah, guys. It's the United States. It's
Well, let me interrupt you a second there, Peter, because I find it ironic that Donald Trump is threatening to bomb Iran for attacking its protesting residents. Look, I am all for protest and all of that, and but I think it's important that Americans understand before they really hit the Ayatollahs, and I'm not the Ayatollahs as far as I'm concerned are criminals, bad people, all of that. But as like I said many a times, the genesis of these criminals come from the things that we do. Let's remember what happened in 50 something with Mossadegh, and how we turned a democracy into an autocracy in Iran, and that the people started fighting back from that. It's important for us to have context. The fact that we are talking about bombing Iran because they're attacking its residents, its citizens, and over here in America, we have the ICE thugs out here murdering its citizens, beating up its citizens, throwing its citizens and its immigrants to the ground. I don't really see much difference there. But continue, Peter.
Thank you. That's a great analogy, comparison. So yeah, it's far right authoritarianism. So I'm sure most Republicans, conservative, and probably most of your Republican friends are friends that listen to the show. But here's some examples. Like it's like that. There's like 10 examples we can go over. That's one for sure. The second would be just a YouTuber, a guy named Nick Shirley. All of a sudden, he's part of the president's cabinet with unsubstantiated claims of fraud in Minnesota. So that's my question or concern is how can someone who's not in the president's cabinet have the president's ear and they're making policy decisions on the debunked claims, as you've seen the evidence, right? Like
Well,
CBS,
yeah.
all
Let me
that's
just say
verified.
this. I need to let everybody know this, right? Right now, the president is just a front. There's a big cabal behind the president. Everybody thinks Trump's so bad. Trump's so bad. Trump is not smart enough to be that bad. Let me just say that. Trump is not smart enough for the evil that's emanating out of the administration. Trump is just somebody that's sufficiently malleable. In other words, they can convince him that he's doing all these things and all these things are good. But there are people behind Trump with ulterior motive, from Miller and his wants for turning us into not only an autocracy but a white nationalist country, all the way back to the tech bros who believe that they want to ensure that their AI control of the world. I mean, there's a whole long group of folks behind this guy that is creating this. But hey, brother, I gotta let you go, Peter, because I gotta go to Patrick,
Peter
and I
Phillips,
want
the
to
voice
have.
of the people, guys, and I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Running in CD9, my friend.
thank you,
We'll
brother.
see you at the next
I
compilation
want to be
Democrats.
left with a
Yeah.
minute
Okay, talk
to
to you.
say a few things. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
I'll make it short since we're running out of time. But ever since the Iraq War, I've debated people about our spending, and I think you probably have too. You and I think a lot alike. And I usually bring up the military budget. And every time I get pushback on that, I was always told it was because we're carrying Europe, we're defending all these third world countries. But we have a president now that claims that he was going to make them pay, and and he's withdrawn a lot of support from all this. So now I'm kind of wondering what their answer is now about why the budget's going up faster than it ever has when we're no longer supporting these people.
Let me tell you, it is the same. I mean, I hate to give you this analogy, but it is the same reason why healthcare is going up. It has nothing to do with inflation. It's because they can. When we spend money on military spending, even though we say we're spending it for whatever country, Iraq or in Europe or wherever, that is simply the cog to transfer money to the wealthy military industrial complex. Watch how the money is spent. I had a friend who was in Iraq. Every time he scanned his card, 30 something dollars went to the. Well, I don't remember. I am saying 30 something, but they come. I think I had calculated it was 30 something dollars going to the plutocracy. They get Indian labor and all of this to give the food for cheap, and all the rest go back into the system. So you're absolutely right. It is one of the biggest ripoffs. But Patrick, I got one more call I got to take. Let's talk at 3 o'clock, brother.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too, my man. Derek, come on in. Last call.
Okay, quickly. To attack Iran quietly for Israel. Now, we got to look at this now. Israel is involved in this. Remember something that George W. Bush did that General Colin Powell told Bush. He told him that if you go into Iraq, you're going to own it. If you go into Iran, Donald Trump, you're going to own it. That's all I call to say.
Thank you, my brother. That is so true. Now, because of what we discussed, Jack told you what the program was supposed to be about, but I thought I had to say those things that I said this morning. But let me just give a quick rundown on the particular issues that we're supposed to talk about, and that is on the ACA. As you know, the House passed a 3-year extension to continue the ACA the ACA subsidies. Well, the Senate was supposed to have the markup for that. I don't know if it's going to pass today. They decided to postpone it, which likely means it's not going to happen in any form close to what people need. And even if it passes, now we have Donald Trump saying that if it passes, he will veto it. I want all of you in farmland country to hear this. I want all of you in rural areas where your hospitals are closing. I want all of you to understand that what your president just said, if there's some compromise reached so that you can have the health care that you get on the ACA, specifically those of you in red states, your president, while he's looking for $500 billion more for the military, while he has used those subsidies to pay for the criminality you see on the street with ICE. He's telling you, I will not sign that bill. So that is one of the topics I wanted to discuss with you on the ACA. The other topic I wanted to discuss was what my friend Nina Turner, former senator of State Senator Ohio and former congresswoman as well, had to say, and that is one of the problems we have. The reason we have Donald Trump is the failure of not only Chuck Schumer but Hakeem Jeffries from actually moving the party into a position of popularity that the American people must have now. That they must have now. We pointed out the, how they've been had. We pointed that out. And unless you have a solution to that, you're not going to win. One of the things I'm telling all of those progressives in primaries right now, disregard whatever the establishment tells you. Go out there and earn the vote of the people. And when I say the people, I'm not saying earn the vote of Democrats. I'm saying earn the vote of the people. Earn the vote of the people. And lastly, we have to give kudos to Senator Tillis now that he's retiring, at least, uh, and a few other Republican senators for coming out and fronting the president on Greenland. I'm going to throw it to Jack before I close this baby out. Jack, are you ready to come on in, or did I catch you off guard?
No, no, I had something written, but it's a little lengthy. I'll
No,
share
no,
it
say
tomorrow.
no. Go say. Oh, okay. If it's too lengthy and can't do it in a minute, then okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, I'll
no
share it
problem.
tomorrow.
Okay, we'll share tomorrow. All right, folks. Look, we are almost out of time. A few seconds left. I want to thank all of you, both on Substack and elsewhere, for being here with us. We cannot do this without you guys' ears. We need to ask you to share all of this stuff, folks. Make people know. Uju had a very good last statement. DOD has never passed an audit, and every year, Dems and MAGA have voted to increase their budget, having never passed an audit to say that they rip money off. Anyway, folks, that you can email me directly at kpft at politicsandright.com, kpft at politicsandright.com. The rest of the show you can reach at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. I love you all of you. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
It's time now for your good news for a good